A lot of women have been led to believe that hunger is a weakness, that managing your appetite is a matter of discipline, that wanting food is a problem to override. And none of that's true. Food is a great thing. And believing that your appetite is something to override has kept you in a war with your body that you were never meant to be fighting. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. So let's talk about hunger, real hunger, the kind that happens in your body, not just your head, because those are two different kinds of hunger, right? There's a hunger for other things than food. And then there's the real hunger for food. And the real hunger for food is what we're talking about today. And at midlife, it feels for a lot of women like their appetite or their hunger signaling has gotten louder and harder to manage, harder to understand. They feel more disconnected from how much they actually ate. And that can be so wildly disorienting. And if that's you, if that sounds like I'm describing you, it's not your imagination. Your hunger hormones have shifted at midlife, as have so many hormones in midlife. It's just the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? Midlife. But understanding how these hormones work is the difference between fighting your appetite forever and finally learning how to work with it, which is really what I want for you, to learn how to work with your appetite, not against it. So there's two hormones that we have to address. Ghrelin and leptin both play big roles in your appetite. So ghrelin is your hunger trigger. It rises before meals and signals to your brain, hey, it's time to eat. And in a healthy system, ghrelin rises, you eat some food, and then ghrelin drops. It's a clean signal. But when you restrict food for too long, when you go for long periods of time between meals, when you overconsume sugar or you underconsume things like protein, ghrelin surges and it can stay elevated. So you're constantly getting these cues that you're always hungry. Your body is not being difficult. It's doing its job. It's trying to protect you from starvation, even though in reality, you're not starving, which can be maddening, I know. And then we have the other player, which is leptin. So leptin is your signal that you're full. You can stop eating. You've eaten enough. You have enough on board. It's important to know that it's produced by fat cells, and it tells your brain that you've had enough. It's time to stop eating. The problem in midlife is that estrogen plays a role in leptin sensitivity. So as estrogen declines, as it does in midlife, the brain can become less responsive to leptin's signaling. So you don't feel like you're getting full, even though you've eaten plenty of food, and technically you are full. There's a name for this. You've probably heard of it. It's called leptin resistance, and it's extraordinarily common in midlife women. So here's an analogy that might kind of help you to think about this a little differently, because I always like to visualize. When I have a picture in my brain, it helps me to remember things. So I want you to imagine a thermostat in your house. So think of ghrelin and leptin as the controllers of that thermostat. So ghrelin is the sensor that detects that it's cold in your house. And so the heat turns on. And leptin is the mechanism that recognizes the house is warmed up, so now the heat can shut off. When that system is well calibrated, it works beautifully and it works invisibly. You don't need to put any extra effort in. But what happens when the shutoff switch stops working properly? The heat keeps running. The house keeps getting warmer and warmer, and no amount of telling the thermostat to have more willpower is going to fix a broken sensor. That is what leptin resistance looks like. It's a calibration problem. It's not a character problem. I'm going to say it again. It's a calibration problem, not a character problem. So you might be asking, well, what calibrates my ghrelin and leptin? Well, here's what helps to calibrate both of those hormones. Number one, eat protein at every meal. That helps to calibrate those hormones. It's one of the most powerful levers for you feeling full and for blunting ghrelin. So you're not feeling hungry all the time, right? We've also talked about the correlation between protein and blood sugar, right? Your eating protein helps to stabilize blood sugar. It also helps to blunt or soften ghrelin, so you, again, don't feel hungry all the time. You also want to avoid skipping meals. I know we're living in a culture that is so into intermittent fasting. And it's so interesting because I've worked with a lot of women over the years who have done a lot of fasting. And when they start engaging in regular exercise, like strength training and even cardiovascular work, they get really frustrated because they don't feel like they have the energy on board that they need to do those activities. Not to mention, it can really mess up your hunger signaling in terms of like they feel hungry all the time. So eating at regular intervals can go a long way in helping you to calibrate both ghrelin and leptin. And the other thing I would just mention in this episode, there's a lot of things we could talk about, but prioritizing sleep. A lot of you have probably heard of the correlation between terrible sleep and weight gain. And this is one of the reasons why not getting regular sleep really disrupts the signaling of ghrelin and leptin. So ghrelin surges with sleep deprivation, which means you feel hungry all the time and you're ravenous after a bad night, right? The other thing I will just mention in correlation with the sleep is getting out into natural light. Natural light helps to regulate your circadian rhythm, which directly influences your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, making you feel hungry at the appropriate times and satisfied when you've had enough to eat. When you are exposed, especially to like morning light, your body is better capable of calibrating those hormones, reducing late night cravings and episodes of overeating. So, most importantly, the thing I want you to walk away with is stop treating hunger as the enemy. It's not an enemy, it's information. Your body is communicating, and your job is to start better understanding the language, not silence the voice. So back to basics. I feel like it always comes back to basics, right? The basics are so powerful in helping you to soften a lot of the challenges you are going to face along your journey. And certainly having cravings or having just wildly out of whack hunger signals, that's true. That the basics of getting sleep and eating regular meals and moving your body and eating a protein forward diet, can all go a long way in helping you to calibrate that. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.